Ayo, what is up everyone? It is the Alpha J of the Alpha J show, and today we're going to be talking about Rick and Morty. I did a top 10 reasons to watch Rick and Morty a while ago, and you should definitely check that out for more Szechuan saucy content. But let's get into today's episode, Total Rickall. Today's shoutout will be this amazing fan art here. I like the lack of black outlines. That makes it seem so much better. It's a really great piece of artwork that I wanted to share with you guys. So if you could, please show some love to this artwork in the form of retweets, likes, and just tell them that I sent you, with the link down below. So we start off this episode with the Smith family having breakfast with their brother, more specifically Jerry's Uncle Smith. They seem to be having a grand old time, laughing, getting a neat surprise, plane tickets. Rick can be seen in the background dumping some green rocks, and some people have speculated that this may have come from Morty Night Run, another episode of Rick and Morty. I'm assuming you've all known about Uncle Smith. He's been with the family for a year. I'm sure you've seen some episodes with him. Or maybe not, because Uncle Smith is not real. That is an alien parasite that creates memories that you perceive to be true. This episode is a play on the 1990s movie called Total Rickall, a movie in which a company called Rickall implanted fake but pleasant memories into people's minds. But it all goes wrong, just like in this episode. I think the premise of this episode is the most interesting all throughout season 2. That's the entire reason why I wanted to review this. The concept is interesting, but the execution was well done. So Rick speculates that there may have been an infection within the house, which leads to this character. His name is Mr. Poopybutthole. Still a better name than Sway Sway or Produce. He will be super interesting towards the end of the episode, so I suggest you stick around for that.
But Uncle Steve taught me how to ride a bike. No, Steve put that memory in your brain so he could live in your house, eat your food, and multiply.
This is an episode of Rick and Morty where the family is taking somewhat of a back seat. This episode isn't about any in-family drama like some episodes in season 3, which aren't necessarily bad, but it's just not what I personally come for when it comes to Rick and Morty. I will say that the writing for this opening is spot on. Rick is at the top of his game and is very snappy with all of his replies, especially the ones to Summer, which were the funniest of them all. Also note that Mr. Poopybutthole is edited into the Rick and Morty theme song introduction.
Alright, there's 6 of us and that's it. Me, Morty, Jerry, Beth, Mr. Poopybutthole, and Summer.
Why not also write down the names? I guess you could say that the parasites can alter memories, so that may not work, but I suppose you'd get the same ending either way. So Rick locks down the house, because no one needs to exit when an alien parasite could be crawling among us. So Mr. Poopybutthole does 2 things that are really interesting. As you can see, Rick and Mr. Can I call him something else? Kinda don't want to be the guy who's known for building a following over saying the words Mr. Poopybutthole. I'm pretty sure we can say something else, right? PB? PB is okay? Alright, PB. So PB and Rick are the main subjects of today's review. The first interesting thing he does is claim that Rick might have gotten the first alien parasite, which would imply that he got it before it spread. By saying this, he believes that the house shouldn't be locked up, but that raises the question. As you see here, Mr. PB wants the blast shields, or whatever these are, down, but in a flashback we are about to see, he doesn't appear to be as claustrophobic as he claims. He appears to act normal, quite optimistic, as if he knows he'll be fine, which leads to my second interesting observation. PB most likely knows that going back to a flashback triggers an alien parasite to appear. PB knew that Rick needed a refill, so maybe he knows a little bit about Rick's operations. But why wouldn't he feel claustrophobic in an elevator, something smaller, but feel claustrophobic in a much larger house? Also, when they go back to the elevator memory, that may or may not be real considering something towards the end, this guy, Cousin Nicky, saves them, as if PB may have known that this was going to happen. So just to recap, PB questions the blast shields, PB triggers the flashback, PB says that he's claustrophobic when in a house, but he was totally happy in the elevator. PB knew about Cousin Nicky, or most likely did, and Cousin Nicky sides with PB in terms of opening the blast shields. And this is the first time we see PB, so right now PB is very suspicious.
Back in Brooklyn, we got a saying, we're walking here!
And we have a saying on YouTube, no money is walking here. Actually, fun fact, the scene is a reference to the famous and most likely unscripted scene in the 1969 movie Midnight Cowboy, in which actor Dustin Hoffman was actually nearly hit by a cab that drove onto the set. And according to him, instead of ruining the scene by saying something along the lines of, we're filming here, he gave to us his signature phrase.
I'm walking here! I'm walking
I can see how Justin is quite known for his improv work. However, because there are 6 people in the house, Rick shoots cousin Nikki as a guess and gets it right. The family, as slow as they are, seem to keep forgetting about the fact that the parasites make memories that you will believe and perceive to be true. They seem to forget that the number 6 seems to be important. That could be a minus in a few people's books because it implies that the family is incredibly stupid. I just find it unlikely that they don't get it 2 times after it happens. So Jerry, because he's an idiot, goes back to remembering a moment that did not happen, which leads to another parasite, which goes into another moment, which leads into another parasite, which goes into another moment, which leads into another moment, which creates another parasite. I love how these parasites get more and more absurd. How in the world could you possibly justify a photography raptor?
There's 6 of us. Me, Morty, Jerry, Beth, Mr. Poopybutthole, Frankenstein, Sleepy Gary, Photography Raptor, Mr. Beauregard, and Summer.
That's like 10 people.
6, 10, what's the difference? I just love the number 6 for no reason.
You see, this moment is pretty weird. This is the only time that Rick is seen slowly succumbing to the, quote, brainwashing that the other family has gone under. They all seem to be backing up each other, and the only one skeptical seems to be the only one who appears to be crazy, even though he is correct in his skepticism. All of the other family members, whether real or fake, persuade Rick to remember the barbecue, which is a great scene because it mixes the real family with the fake family. So now from Rick's perspective, he completely forgot who is who.
Watch me, baby. I'm like Tom Cruise from Cuisine or whatever that movie's called where he makes drinks. Yeah, check me out. I'm like Tom Cruise from Cuisine.
No, it is not Cuisine. It's Cocktail. So Rick freaks out because what was once 6 people turns out to be dozens of alien parasites disguised as family members. Now, all of them want to figure out how to get the blast shields down. So first, they get Rick to do it himself, but obviously he won't do that.
I just got back from Walmart. They're selling Nintendo 3DS systems for $149.99 on sale. Plus, every time you buy one, you get a $50 gift card. Brings the total price down to $110 after tax. Now listen, we can flip those sons of bitches for $230 a piece. Easy! They're all limited edition Zelda ones.
Now, apparently, according to the Rick and Morty Wikia, by the way, and a Tumblr post, this is real. I'm not sure myself, but I can believe that this is based off of a real experience. It wouldn't surprise me, considering that this seems like something Roiland would do. We get a side plot of Sleepy Gary and Jerry getting some time alone, to which Jerry questions if he's real. I love this moment because it shows that it isn't just the alien parasites manipulating Rick. You wonder why I haven't said Morty's name a lot? It is because he doesn't do a lot, which isn't a bad thing at all. We also get a scene in which Jerry and Gary kiss. Didn't see 1,000 of the outrage against this scene the way we did in the Loud House. I guess some people are willing to make the claim that Rick and Morty is an adult cartoon, but when it's on the same network as Cartoon Network, you're kind of playing both sides of the fence when it comes to certain arguments. But it is quite pleasant to see that the parasites are developing unique relationships with the real family members, causing them to pick sides that might not even include their entire family, like with Summer and Beth earlier. I think that's one of the main pillars to why this episode is so great. Plus, it never feels like the show is trying too hard, or trying to make you feel one way, or trying so hard to make you believe something, or laugh at this joke, or get angry at this controversy, or anything at all. Also, I want to point out this. Sleepy Gary informed Rick, and also the audience, that this green guy is not Frankenstein, but Frankenstein's monster. For all the crap posts and copy pastas floating around on the internet about Rick and Morty, that's actually a misconception that still goes on to this day. So help a buddy increase his IQ and tell them that this right here, this guy, he's Frankenstein's monster, not Frankenstein. So Frankenstein's monster gets angsty, grabbing the gun from Rick after he questions why a lot of the family members want to escape so bad.
You know me, I'm reverse giraffe. I have a short neck and leg. How many times have I been a shoulder for you to cry on?
Too many.
Actually, I want to clear this up. This is the way a tie goes around a giraffe, not this way. That would be ridiculous. But continue.
So maybe we're just all fake. Or maybe there's only one deceiver here.
Maybe it's just my crazy self playing Mafia, Murder Mystery, Town of Salem, Popcorn. Join my Discord. Sorry, it's cold outside. I'm getting sort of a chillness. But there's a lot of different manipulation tactics here. You have the person grouping with the one person to gain their trust, and that person just so happens to be the one person that everyone trusts. You have everyone playing up to emotion. You have the red herring of using Rick's vague backstory against him. You also have flat out ignoring, as Rick points points out that he tried to kill Summer earlier in the episode, and no one acknowledges that. So Morty, finally getting to his moment within the episode, gets upset that Rick doesn't want to open the blast shields, and makes me question, after Frankenstein has the gun, what threat is Rick really at that point? Let's say they actually go through with shooting Rick. Then in that case, I'm assuming that they'll either bust out using brute force, or get the watch and find a way out. And in both cases, since Rick doesn't have the gun anymore, either brute force or using the watch works whether Rick is dead or alive. He can't do anything about it at that point. So I'm just saying that this scene feels kind of confusing, but I'm willing to sweep that under the rug. So we get to two of my favorite moments within the episode. I know I keep saying interesting and favorite because there's a lot of interesting and favorite moments within this episode.
Rick, this isn't easy for us. We all remember you as a friend.
I remember you as a whiny little piece of shit, Morty. I've got about 1,000 memories of your dumb little ass, and about 6 of them are pleasant. The rest is annoying garbage. So why don't you do us both a favor and pull the trigger? Do it, motherfucker. Pull the trigger!
And that's when we learn that Morty and the rest of the family can only think of positive moments with certain family members, never negative. This is why every Parasite was playing to emotion, because it's easy to make the Smiths feel happy because you're manipulating their experiences and thus their emotion. I mean, I haven't even questioned how Jerry, who was still married to Beth at this time, I believe, was then led to believe that Sleepy Gary married Beth and Gary and Jerry are best friends who kissed at one time and they kind of have a thing for each other or something like that. We also get one of the funniest moments within Rick and Morty, which I won't spoil here because I have to give you at least something to go to the episode for. We get not just a great scene of the aliens dying, but also scenes of the Smith family that aren't happy memories. Also, I gotta say, I know it's late, but those aliens look absolutely disgusting. Good job! Now we are at the last scene, and do you want to know why I titled the video the way I did? Well, here we go. So now that Rick has the blast shields down, and the family is having dinner, everything seems to be fine.
Oh, is something wrong, Beth?
Oh my God!
Oh, keep breathing. Look at me.
What's happening?
Look at me. Don't fall asleep.
Oh my
Why
God!
would you do this, Beth? It's not supposed to hurt. I thought. Ooh-wee.
I remember in my top reasons to watch video about Rick and Morty, I talked about the unorthodox nature of the series. This isn't a happy ending and that's clear, but it isn't even that comical. On one hand, you can laugh at the dark humor, but this was something that the other characters played up to be something of true importance. Also, with what I said before, it doesn't make Beth totally in the wrong for doing what she did. In fact, according to the co-creator himself, Dan, he suggests that PB was, quote, a more advanced yet benevolent thread of the Parasites, a creature that takes advantage of the holes in people's memories and puts itself in them. And that, quote, this advanced state meant that he was not necessarily bound to a single dimension. It doesn't make sense why he is there, but it also doesn't make him totally guilty, as you can count the scenes in the theme song introduction as unpleasant memories. So either way now is right, but I'm going to have to say yes, I would have shot PB, and I don't blame Beth for doing so. The episode ends with PB saying that he doesn't want to see the Smiths, especially Beth, and that was Total Rickall. Overall, I think it's one of the best offerings of Rick and Morty because it has a great balance of comedy, sci-fi, action, and the ongoing drama that is the dysfunctional Smith family. There is a lot of parts in this episode that hit home for me, from the scene of Rick telling Morty to pull the trigger to small things, such as the unpleasant moment of Beth from Summer's perspective. I love a lot of the humor, and it was meta but not too meta. It had its moments, but it never felt forced or that it was taking itself too seriously. If you haven't caught up or even watched Rick and Morty, whether you didn't know if it was interesting or you believe the fanbase pushes you away from it, just know that this episode is a good one, and one of my favorites. But I'd like to know, what do you think of Total Rickall? Would you have killed PB? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, make sure to follow me at the ALPHAJ Show for the latest and greatest in poopy buttholes. The link for that in my other social medias and a request video where if you have any requests at all that isn't denied in the pinned comment of that particular video, not this one here, leave it there. If you really like this video, you should check out my top reasons to watch Rick and Morty video for more ways to get swifty. Make sure to subscribe and feel free to consider my Patreon. As always, I hope your time is well spent, and Alpha out.